I'm always trying to educate myself when it comes to finance and development. I wasn't an avid reader, but as I've gotten older and built my own businesses, I've realized books can contain a lot of valuable knowledge. But here's the truth, it's just a lot of fluff. There's only a few key learnings in each. So in this video, I'll be sharing some of my favorite books and give you the key takeaways. I'll split this video into a few categories, with each category building on top of each other to give you the building blocks to wealth in all aspects of your life. I've put in countless hours here, so you don't have to. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. I share sort of links to interesting things, my own experiences, stories and stuff like that. Make sure to check it out. So let's begin with the first category of books. Before you become rich, you have to have the right mindset. You have to actually believe that it is a possibility and that it is something you want, as whatever the mind conceive and believe, it can achieve. This leads us well into the first book, Think and Grow Rich. This is a timeless classic that delves deep into the psychology of success. It's a comprehensive guide to achieving success through the power of positive thinking, visualization, and here's the most important one that a lot of people will slip up on: concrete action. Tony Robbins said it perfectly. Knowing is not enough. You must take action, and that's the main point I want you to take away from this book, as without action, all of this knowledge that you soak in will be absolutely worthless. You need to visualize, you need to believe you can achieve it, but most importantly, you need to take action towards your goals. Always remember this, the distance between dreams and reality is called action. The next book builds upon our first book, Think and Grow Rich, and this one is Mindset by Carol Dweck. This book covers the topic of what Carol refers to as the growth mindset. A fixed mindset would believe that intelligence and talent are static. However, a growth mindset embraces challenges in life, seeing them as opportunities to learn and grow. The growth mindset believes that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. They believe that their talents and abilities are like Play-Doh and can be molded to be able to achieve their dreams. Now that you have decided to utilize the power of positive thinking and started taking action, you can now mold your mindset to embrace the challenges that are going to come and to realize that abilities aren't static and that we have to be determined to achieve our own goals. It's funny because I get emails and messages pretty much every single day from random people on the internet asking how did I get the confidence to do what I do? And it's just funny because all of these messages, they're always asking how you do this, how you do that, where should they start and whatever else, when really you just need to start. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people just don't know that you've got to take the action. You've got to actually commit to the thing. You've got to actually do it, because you won't really know how it works until you start actually doing it. Now that you have the power of positive thinking, you have the desire to achieve your dreams and goals, you are taking action and you are starting to build your growth mindset. This leads us well into our next book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is one of my favorite books of all time because it has literally changed my mindset and my life. This book is a guide to the power of tiny changes in your life and building upon them. You are the sum of all of your actions, so you need to be stacking the good ones bit by bit. And unlike big sweeping changes to your life that are hard to maintain, building small and more manageable habits can lead to significant long-term results. Work on making small changes every day, stacking the bricks one by one, and just trying to get 1% better each day. Over time, it will compound and your goals will be much nearer than you thought. The way this changed my life was in my health and fitness. I didn't really like going to the gym. The gym was something that just wasn't for me, but I knew I had to do it because I'm sitting behind a desk all day. My desk is right behind me over there. I'm sitting behind that thing either here or I have one at home. I'm sitting behind it most of the day, and that's just not healthy. That's not good for your body or your mind. And I realized that if I want to be healthy, if I want to be in shape, that if I want to look good in clothing, I want to look good on holiday, at the beach, all these different things that I really wanted, I had to make the gym a habit. I knew I had to make it a habit that could stick. And the way I built it into a habit was that I said to myself, okay, let's start small. Let's start going every other day to the gym, only for an hour, maybe not even an hour, maybe 40 minutes. I think when I first started, I was only going for 40 minutes. And the thing was, I was just forcing myself to go at that time. And then that over time ended up going to every day. So there was a period, I'm not going every single day now, but there was a period where I was going to the gym every single day for an hour to 1.5 hours. And what happened was, because I kept going at that same time every day, I ended up seeing the same people. I ended up talking to the same people. I ended up making friends at the gym. So now I've actually turned that habit into something that I want to do. And it's also made a big difference in my life because I've made new friends at the gym that I actually like seeing. It's like going to school. It literally reminds me of going to school. When I used to go to school, I used to see my friends in the morning at break time, lunchtime, and just have a good laugh. That's exactly what's happened when it comes to going to the gym, because I kept going at the same time. And over time, I've seen seeing big changes in my body and my health. I can lift heavier, I can run further, I can do more activities without feeling out of breath. But day to day, I wouldn't really see those small little changes. I wouldn't see small changes in my health, in my fitness or anything. But 6 months and 12 months later, I realized, oh wow, I've made all these new friends. Oh wow, I love going to the gym. I can lift so much heavier than I used to, all because I made it a habit. And it's really absolutely changed my life. Like going to the gym, just having that habit, making it part of my routine has made my life so much better. Now we're going to move on to category 2, which is the next step, the next sort of building blocks that you need to build your sort of mansion of knowledge, you could call it in a way. The next book on the list needs no introduction. This book has formed the basis of so many millionaires out there. And if you asked 10 people to recommend you books about money, I wouldn't be surprised if quite a few of them recommended this book. And that book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book contrasts two different philosophies through the lens of two fathers, his biological father, Poor Dad, and his friend's father, the Rich Dad. One of the fathers believes that studying hard, getting a job and saving money, while the other believes in independent thinking, investing your money and creating businesses so as to build your wealth. The Rich Dad teaches that instead of working for money, we should learn how to make money work for us. This book also provides the fundamentals of money, which they just don't teach you in school. Things like assets and liabilities, and how we need to be building our asset base to create generational wealth. It encourages us to think differently about money, not follow the norms that our parents or society may set out for us, and to place importance on financial education and entrepreneurial thinking so as to achieve success. Now that we know what assets and liabilities are, we know to be thinking differently about money and the world around us. We are now introduced to the next book on the list, The Richest Man in Babylon. Although this book is a work of fiction, the principles still hold true. It delves into the various parables of Arkad, a wealthy man in ancient Babylon, and he shares various age-old truths such as to live below your means, invest wisely so that your money can grow, and most importantly, to pay yourself first. Essentially what this is that when you get your salary, you immediately put your money towards investments and any essential expenses like rent. Then this forces you to be pulling money away rather than spending it unnecessarily. It goes on to explain that you should always be looking to improve your skills and knowledge. If you haven't seen it already, my video on high income skills can help you with this. The next book on the list builds upon our previous book, that's I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This book offers a super practical approach to finance, none of the extreme micro detail budgeting, don't spend money on coffee sort of BS that a lot of books teach, but rather having a more realistic approach to it all. The overarching point that I took away from this book is that you should be automating your finances, automate your investment, automate your expenses, your savings, and just automate everything that you can. What this means is that you now have more mental capacity to focus on the important things like increasing your income and working on your businesses. The nitty-gritty is on autopilot. Now you can focus on the bigger picture. Another key point in this book is to be investing in low-cost index funds, but we'll get into that a little later on in the video. Book number 7 in the list is The Psychology of Money, and this is an important one for many people because I feel like even though a lot of it is common sense, some people just don't realize. Every person's relationship with money is shaped by their unique life experiences and beliefs, and that's incredibly powerful to know, as now you can look at the patterns of successful people and use that to reshape your beliefs on money. We often look at the most successful people in the world like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and think that we need to be copying what exactly they did. But let's be honest, to get that sort of wealth, there is luck involved, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone requires a bit of luck. There's a lot of things that come into play. Anyway, what's more important is for us to be analyzing the patterns of these successful people and how we can implement some of those patterns in our lives to also become wealthy. It also touches on the fact that the best financial advice is usually the most simple. Rather than trying these wild get-rich-quick schemes or just trying to find some fancy way to make money, it's just best to put your money into a simple, low-cost index fund and just keep doing it consistently over time. This next book therefore complements our previous book very well, and that's The Millionaire Next Door. It breaks down the common traits of millionaires, revealing that many of them don't live the luxurious lives that a lot of people think they live. We usually think of luxury shopping, first-class flights, extravagant trips to tropical islands, but rather a lot of millionaires are actually often quite frugal, prioritizing saving and investing wisely. It isn't necessarily about earning a high income, but more about living below your means, avoiding debt, and consistently, that's the key word here, consistently saving and investing. Being rich isn't about showing off, it's about making smart money choices so that you can build significant wealth over time. We've covered all the principles around money and that we need to do things like invest, Now, what do we actually invest in? That's where this next book comes into action. It's literally the investing Bible. Ask anyone who even has a smidge of knowledge on finance, and they will tell you that this book has GOAT level status. Heck, even Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in the world, attributes a portion of his success to Benjamin Graham, who wrote this book, who's one of the professors at Columbia University. Now, I must be honest, this book is a little outdated and it can be quite a dry read, but the principles still hold true to this very day. Investing for the long term doesn't require any special knowledge. It just requires you to buy shares in tried and tested companies and hold them for a long term. Don't try things like timing the market or trying to beat the market or paying other people to beat the market for you. The main thing is that you just invest in good quality companies and stick to your strategy for the long term, and then just let time do the rest. This book does emphasize doing your own research into the companies that you're buying shares into, but if you don't have the time or inclination to do any of that, really the most simple thing to do is just to buy index funds. This gives you broad market exposure and requires little effort on your part. Just make use of the automation processes in the previous books mentioned, and you can sleep well at night knowing that you are investing in your future. I have personally made 30% a year for the last 3 years on my portfolio of stocks and shares, mainly because I did my own research in the companies I invest in and not really wanting to make quick money. My aim is to hold for the long term and pretty much have it on autopilot. There's no sort of funny way of doing it. It really is just holding out. It's just investing in something, thinking to myself, okay, is this going to do well in 6 to 12 months or maybe in a few years, and just leaving the money there and then looking at it maybe a couple of times a month, maybe putting in sort of stop loss automation, things like that. And yeah, by doing that, I'd be making 30% a year, which is obviously outrageous. I don't expect it to stay at 30% a year forever. No way, that's just not possible. But I'll be making 30% a year each year for the last 3 years. I've had a lot of requests on what I've invested in, what companies and whatever. So I've just made a quick list of the stocks and shares that I've bought. I'll leave a link to it below. We've covered a lot of books already, all forming the foundation and structure of your house of knowledge, you could see it as. We've got the mindset and the habits locked in. We know the fundamentals of our finances. Now is the time to look at the bigger picture. The next category will delve into topics such as entrepreneurship, behavioral psychology, and mastering negotiations. These will round off your knowledge and help tie everything together. You've learned the fundamentals. Now it's time to put it all into practice with the teachings of these next books. There are quite a few in this category, so I'll run through them quite quickly. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. This one originally caught my attention because of the ridiculous title, 4-Hour Workweek. Sign me up. If I can do a 4-hour workweek, and from what the cover shows I can be doing it on a hammock on the beach, then I'm all for it. I soon realized that this book wasn't all woo-woo fluff with a great title, but rather about working smarter, not harder. And that's the key point here. This book speaks on what is known as the Pareto principle, which states that 80% of the value comes from 20% of the work. The economist who first discovered this principle originally saw that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the people. In the context of the 4-hour work week, this principle is used to optimize productivity. That's why you will notice that, for example, 80% of your income generally comes from 20% of your clients, or that 80% of your results usually come from 20% of the efforts. Now apply that directly to your life and you will soon figure out that you can now work smarter and achieve better results with less effort. Focus on the crucial 20%, the most important tasks that will have the greatest outcome, and you will see the most significant returns. From this, you can then automate the rest if you have the luxury, of course. I relate to this very well, as I like to see myself as the sort of lazy creator, you could say. I don't think it makes sense to work 10 hours a day and constantly be productive. That just seems like hell to me. I'm always trying to figure out how I can make the most money with the least amount of time. This is a perfect segue into our next book, The One Thing. Like the 4-hour work week, The One Thing emphasizes on focusing on the most crucial tasks in order to make your goals seem much more simple or even possible in the first place. We are so overwhelmed with all the things we need to do in our daily lives that we often get distracted from the most important tasks at hand. What I really took from this book was what the author refers to as the domino effect. Just a single domino can set off a chain reaction, and by focusing on the most important tasks, you can create a cascade of success. This also ties well into the books that we spoke about earlier, Think and Grow Rich and Atomic Habits. Just by taking action and stacking all of the hard work and good habits over time, your success can gain momentum and over time can snowball into ways you couldn't have even imagined. Another key point the 4-hour workweek introduced was the idea of making the most of our hours and upping our game through entrepreneurship, a theme in the next book, The Millionaire Fastlane. The Millionaire Fastlane challenges the conventional financial wisdom that we have always been told. You know the regular drill: go to school, get a stable 9 to 5 and stay there until retirement. The Millionaire Fastlane says there is another way, and that is through entrepreneurship. You can build systems to create wealth quickly. This book talks about 3 different lanes: the sidewalk, living paycheck to paycheck; the slow lane, traditional employment and savings every month until retirement; or the fast lane, entrepreneurial wealth and leveraging your time to build wealth. Therefore, if you want to not just build wealth, but also the time to enjoy it, starting your own business can be the best path to take. You need to think differently, think big picture, and not follow the traditional routes of trading your time for money. If you want both money and a good life, think about starting something of your own and doing things a bit differently. Now that we've got the mindset, we are stacking the habits, we have the financial foundations, we know to be focusing on our most important tasks, and we understand to create wealth we need to embrace entrepreneurship. Now it's time to put that all together and start learning about how to build a business. This is where the personal MBA comes in. Rather than paying literal hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to university to do an MBA, just read this book. 99% of the stuff you will learn in a traditional MBA course can be found in here. Imagine a cheat sheet for everything you need to know about business at a fraction of the cost. It covers so many topics ranging from entrepreneurship to marketing, all the way to accounting and operations management. This will give you a good basis for all things business related. Now it's time to build your business, and this is where the lean startup comes in. This book is so important for anyone looking to start a business, as it gives you a systematic approach to creating and managing a successful startup. It talks about the build, measure, learn feedback loop, and the reason why this is so important is that a lot of people will go full gung-ho, get over eager and spend all of their savings even before knowing if it's actually a good business. The point of the build, measure, learn feedback loop is that it allows you to stay nimble and lean before any large amounts of money or time are invested. It's important to start small and see whether your idea actually has any market value. Entrepreneurs can test their hypothesis, gather feedback, and adapt accordingly. At its core, this book encourages a flexible approach to business, allowing you to minimize risk and maximize your chances of success. Building your mansion of knowledge is a commendable journey that requires dedication and resilience. Now onto the final category, where we will be learning the finishing touches. We will be learning things like interpersonal relationships, negotiation tactics, power dynamics, and life lessons from the greats. With these books, you possess the skills to not only accumulate wealth, but to also wield it wisely, building long-lasting relationships and positively influence the people around you. How to Win Friends and Influence People. This classic is essential reading for anyone and everyone. While we've discussed a lot about money and business so far, wealth isn't just about monetary value, it's also about cultivating relationships and understanding human behavior. This book provides timeless advice on how to communicate with people, how to understand them, and ultimately how to get anyone on your side. Whether you're negotiating a business deal or just networking at a party, the principles in this book are invaluable for building rapport and influence. You can then take those learnings and apply it directly to the teachings of this next book. Never split the difference. Every penny counts, especially when you're on the journey to riches. Voss, a former hostage negotiator for the FBI, provides a guide on how to negotiate like your life depends on it, because sometimes it does. Whether you're negotiating a salary, a business deal, or even just where you have to have dinner, understanding the psychology behind negotiation and mastering those tactics will ensure you come out on top. Now, this next book, I feel like I do have to warn you, is quite controversial. A lot of people have said this book is interesting to say the least. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power often raises eyebrows because of its potential for misuse. But here's an analogy to consider. It's like a powerful tool. Used correctly, it can build bridges. Used incorrectly, it can cause serious damage. This book delves deep into understanding social dynamics and understanding people's motivations. If approached with integrity and the right intentions, it can provide invaluable insights to advance in one's career, create strong connections, and achieve financial success. Finally, we have the last book on the list. This is the one you can use to round off all of your knowledge, and the one that you can always come back to for insights Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss offers a collection of life and business lessons from the most successful people around the world. This book distills hours of interviews into actionable advice on everything from morning routines to investment strategies. If you're looking for a compilation of tips and tactics employed by some of the most successful people in the world, this book is for you. So to summarize, here are my key takeaways from these books. Knowing is not enough, taking action is key, and it's important to get started. Building habits is more important than just throwing yourself in at the deep end. Starting small and getting better and better each day is very powerful. Maybe in 12 months time or even a few years later, you'll be able to look back and see how important it was to make that something a habit. Sometimes having a normal 9 to 5 where you work hard is not enough. You've got to take initiative, invest your money and build your own thing, which can also be done alongside a 9 to 5. Putting money aside for investments and savings right away is a much better way to make sure you invest a certain amount regularly. Once you're making good money and have good investments, don't sweat the small stuff like the odd coffee or meal out. The mental energy trying to save every penny just isn't worth it. Compounding is your best friend. Give things time and they can grow quicker than you realize. Work smarter, not harder. Leverage is a superpower. Try and use it wherever you can. Building great relationships with people can help you get access to things that aren't otherwise available. Everything is a negotiation. Learning and understanding people's psychology can be used to help you get what you want. Seeing what other wealthy people are doing and following some, not all, can help you achieve similar results. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.